Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Tuesday. Hope your Tuesday is getting along just fine. Casey Gaines and Taylor Sharp back there on the ones and twos. Little switcheroo on this Tuesday. Usually we have Glenn West at 1:30, Sharif Ishak at 2:30. We're going to flip them. Sharif's going to come on at 1:30 talking some Pels, a little bit of Saints as well. And then we'll hear from Glenn West at 2:30. He will have just finished up interviews with LSU basketball. Matt McMahon meeting with the media 30 minutes from right now. They'll have some players as well. So Glenn will be up to date on the latest in LSU basketball news, and we'll chat with him in hour number 2. So same guest. We just flipped the order just a touch. Lots to get to over the next 2 hours. On 3 Sports came out with their new top 100, their final top 100 for this high school signing class. I'll get you updated on where LSU signees are. I got some SEC hoops tonight. What's next for Tom Brady? And then 15 minutes from right now, we'll hear from Matt McMahon in his coach's show last night with Chris Blair. Had a couple of points that I wanted to expound upon. But we start with the game last night in the National Football League. Cowboys go to Tampa and absolutely roll the Bucs. I'm wrong most of the time. I was not wrong on this one. The Bucs were bad in September. They were bad in October. They were bad in November. They were bad in December. It's January. They're still not good. They were an under 500 team. They beat some bad teams. They were the worst running team in the league. They were old. Their offensive line was banged up. Really, their only redeeming quality as a football team was that their quarterback completed a lot of passes. That's the strength of their team. Yeah, the 2 linebackers can play. It's not as if they're the Texans, but they're not very good. And they were going to need Dallas to come in and play one of those patented bad Cowboys games that Taylor's seen many a time. The Cowboys played one last week. They played one in Washington. And that didn't happen. The Cowboys played exceptionally well last night. And if the Cowboys were going to bring their B+ or A game, that Tampa team was not going to win. And they weren't even competitive. And that was the result. I thought Dak was awesome. I thought the play calling from Kellen Moore was very good. They got Pollard and Elliott going early. They got Dak going with some easy stuff early. They got him on the edges, had a bootleg, hit Schultz for one, called the naked bootleg later in the game on a 4th down that was a really gutsy call and one that worked. Everything was firing. And I think I feel like there are a ton of people in Louisiana, specifically in South Louisiana, that hate the Cowboys because there's a little bit of a Northern Louisiana push toward that team. But I feel like they also really don't like Tom Brady and the Bucs after the last few years. So maybe torn. I feel like seeing your divisional opponent go down is a little more satisfying than seeing the Cowboys go down. But I can't speak for all Saints fans. But I can tell you this. Just in summation in talking about this Bucs team, and we'll talk about Tom Brady's options, I think, coming up at the end of this hour. But his skill set right now can win games in the NFL. But you're going to have to complement it perfectly. Because all Tom Brady can do is stand right there in the pocket and go to work. So you're going to have a stellar offensive line, an excellent running game, and receivers that can win right off the ball. Tampa does not have an excellent offensive line. They have a poor offensive line, and their running game is totally non-existent. So what you've got is a quarterback that stands back there with pass rushers that know where he's going to be and that he's going to throw it with no threat of the run, and a bunch of DBs that are playing shell coverage. And the Cowboys just ate them alive. You've got to be able to move a little bit in this day and age in the NFL. Look at the quarterbacks that are playing at an elite level right now. We know that Mahomes can move and throw off schedule and make plays outside the pocket. He's not Randall Cunningham back there, but he moves very well. Josh Allen is an elite athlete. He runs very well. He moves very well. That's what he is. Joe's not going to run the 40 in 4.4, but he moves in the pocket exceptionally well and can get to the edge when he needs to. Jalen Hurts probably would have been the MVP of the league if he stayed healthy. He moves all over the place. He's a huge threat running the ball and scoring touchdowns on the move. Look at the plays Dak made last night. I mentioned the half boot. I mentioned the boot for the touchdown. The other touchdown to Schultz where he rolled all the way to his left. He's moving, creating time outside the pocket, making an athletic play. I mean, even you go out and Brock Purdy, who's making some plays right now, he's extending plays with his feet, being an athlete, getting outside the pocket. You have to have everything perfect to win it stationary from the pocket. Now, I realize Matt Stafford won the Super Bowl last year, and he's not Michael Vick. So, every situation is a little bit different, but on the whole, in the league, because of how ridiculous the pass rushers are, the amount of athletes that you've got coming off the edge in the league, you need to move a little bit. Sometimes I think dual threat quarterback gets painted a little bit negatively. Maybe that means, yeah, you're fast, but can you pick the defense apart? You kind of got to have both. And it was obvious from August of this year when Tampa loses a couple of offensive linemen and then got another one hurt that was going to be a bit of an issue, and they never solved it. So they struggled to score most of the year. Brady completed a lot of throws because he's got to sit there and get rid of it. Boom, boom. But that's just not the way to play offense right now. And I thought it was pretty obvious all year long that Tampa wasn't the team that everybody thought they were going to be, and that you couldn't just lean on, well, they got Brady. You can't bet against Brady. If you were listening to the show in August, Jeremy and I both said, that thing Belichick's got going on the offensive side of the ball with two guys who aren't offensive coordinators isn't going to work. And Jeremy did lean on the, hey, you can't bet against the GOAT. I'm not betting against Tom. He's 45 and has no offensive line. That's not going to get it. So, I look, we've made bits on this show about how hellaciously wrong I've been on gambling picks and picking, games and whatnot. This one seemed pretty obvious, and in this case, it was. And you could bet against Tom. Now, a lot of people were making a lot of the press conference that Tom gave last night, where he thanked the media and said, hey, I appreciate y'all for covering the sport the way you do, and I love this organization. And it sounded kind of like there was some finality to it. I didn't hear it that way. I can interpret it. I can say, yeah, that makes sense. If he's going to leave, that comment makes sense. But it also makes sense if you think he's going to head somewhere else. He didn't slam the door on anything, or he just said, yeah, I gotta think about it. And at this point, if the 45-year-old quarterback isn't thinking about it, then what are we doing? Of course he's going to think about it. We went through this exercise with Drew Brees for the last 4 or so years in New Orleans, and finally that day came. And we've gone through this exercise with Tom for the last 5 or 6 years, and finally the day came, and then it didn't 2 weeks later. But that, to me, was just exactly what you would expect to hear of a guy that just finished the season at age 45 and has some things to think about. It's been a ridiculously hard season for him this year with the things that have gone on in his family life, with having a divorce finalized in the middle of a football season. But as far as on the field goes, Father Time's knocking on the door. He's winning at this point. You knew that day would come, and this is the best fight anybody's put up. Maybe Jamie Moyer from the baseball side of things. But it's about it, I think. And maybe he tries to go one more year, but I just don't know that his style of play right now in this game is going to win a lot of football games unless the pieces you've got around him are elite. And there are a couple of things, a couple of doors he might want to knock on that might make some sense, and we'll talk about those at the end of the hour. But last night, I think, to me, was less about, we learned that Tampa Bay, man, that was pretty pitiful. I feel like we already knew that It was more of, okay, what does Dallas have in the tank here? And I think there's something there. That pass rush can go. It's an opportunistic secondary that can be questionable at times, but opportunistic makes huge plays. And the offense can go. I thought Kellen Moore was awesome last night. I thought Dak was awesome. I think if they feature Pollard a little bit more than Zeke, that's awesome. And CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, those guys are good players. And so they're going to go to San Francisco. They're going to be an underdog in that game, probably a little lower than you would assume. But that was impressive from Dallas last night. Taylor, if you want to open that mic and kind of give your thoughts as we kind of transition to LSU basketball here after the break. But you got to feel pretty good after that one.
Yeah, I do. And obviously I picked Tampa to win. And look, part of that was for show. I was tired of getting hurt. I didn't want to pick Dallas again. But, no, I think you nailed it. We mentioned yesterday that Brady hadn't been sacked a lot because he gets rid of the ball quick. But, I mean, the pass rush stepped up big time. The secondary was great, and that was something that they had struggled with. They locked down Mike Evans all night long. And like you said, Kellen Moore, I think he was the MVP of the game.
He was great.
When Dallas struggled this year is because they made Dak throw it 50 times. They used the run to open up that pass, and credit to Dak. I've been more critical of him than probably anybody else has, but yeah, he was great last night. If he could play like that at even a semi-consistent basis, they're going to be tough to beat. I am very pleased as a Cowboys fan as to what I saw last night.
Last piece here, and I think there's going to be some movement here over the next 48 hours, calling all kickers to the Arlington area. I was listening to Mike Tannenbaum this morning, who's obviously been a GM in the NFL, and I don't think you can take Brett Maher to San Francisco. You get him on the practice field. You don't have to cut him. You might deactivate him. There are some options that are probably above my head, but this is what he was saying. There are a lot of guys that can kick, and if a mental thing crops up and you don't have it, that is a nightmare. And I have no ability to understand what kicking is about. The last time I tried to kick a field goal was at a golf tournament. They set up a mini field goal and let everybody try to kick a field goal to take 2 shots off your score. And I watched like 20 middle-aged men try to do this, and it was a disaster. It was quite humorous. But I can relate it a little bit to the golf swing because it is just a swing and trying to keep the ball going straight. And if you get in there mentally and there's something there, it can be the yips. I mean, there's a lot of knob block talk and Rick Ankiel talk and all that kind of stuff, and I get it, and it's one game. But you missed 3 all year and you missed 4 in a row. I can't, in good conscience, take a 53-man football team up there, get my brains beat in by the 49ers for 4 hours, and have a kicker leave 4 points on the table. Whether it's a field goal and an extra point, whatever it may be, I got to start working guys out. And that was really tough to watch last night. I mean, there was some theatrics with Payton on the Payton cast, and he was making comments, and Dan Campbell said, man, maybe a little bit of the yips and the whole deal. And then they ended up going for the 4th down instead of kicking the field goal in a pretty obvious field goal spot. But I can't take him to San Francisco right now. I'm curious to see how that materializes over the next 2 days. We'll take a time out, come back. Matt McMahon had his coach's show last night. Some interesting things about this current team and just big picture. And sometimes a 40-point loss will have you thinking big picture. Certainly did with a lot of people in my Twitter mentions and whatnot. So we'll get to that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford. Check out the inventory, BayouFord.com. I'm an Explorer guy. I've had 3 of them in my driving history and have loved all 3 of them. I had it in my college days when I was driving all over the place. I now have it in my dad days where I got a car seat and some golf clubs in the back, and it has plenty of room. If you need even more room, the Expedition certainly can help you out with that. Maybe you're looking for a truck, F-150, the F-250. Maybe you're looking for a car, Mustang. Really popular. Of course, the Broncos are as well. Check out the inventory at BayouFord.com. You can choose your specifications right there on the search bar at the homepage. If they have what you want, it'll pop right up there. Get you a video of the vehicle and all the specs on it. If they don't have exactly what you want, that's okay. Call Ben Gagne and his team. Say, hey, I'm looking for this. They will customize a vehicle, and they will have it delivered with the paperwork right to your front door. Never have to go to the dealership. 75% of the customers at Bayou Ford don't. That's why convenience is king over at Bayou Ford. The website is BayouFord.com. BayouFord.com. Bayou Ford. They're going to do right by you.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. How do the LSU Tigers project in the upcoming NFL draft? And John Brady will join us to talk a little LSU hoops. Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We'll have Sharif Ishak with us here in about 12 minutes. Pell's got Darius Garland yesterday. Just went absolutely nuts. He might have helped Vanderbilt a few years ago. Tore his ACL, missed the entire season. Heck of a player, and he's been really good for Cleveland in his young career. So we'll talk with Sharif here coming up. But I wanted to talk LSU basketball here. Matt McMahon had his coach's show last night over at TJ Ribs with Chris Blair, and I think if you go to Tuscaloosa and you get beat by 12, it is what it is, and you just kind of move on, especially the fan base. You go to Tuscaloosa and get beat by 40, all of a sudden your eyes get big. You just don't expect to see that, and it makes people think bigger picture than that 40 minutes of basketball. Right or wrong, it just kind of is what it is. And so I thought that Matt McMahon's answer when talking about where the program is and kind of what his vision for it was relevant. And I'm on the same page, but I think there are other people that are a little bit concerned. So this was Matt McMahon talking about kind of where things stand right now.
Yeah, I think that's certainly the goal. It's one of the reasons that I came here. And Chris, we've talked about it a lot. man, what an honor to be here. It's a privilege to be here, to get to coach at LSU. And, I think I've told you, too, this was not the best short-term opportunity out there in America this past spring. But to me, it was by far the best long-term opportunity. I think you can win at the absolute highest level here. So here in year one, I think it's critical that we establish a foundation for what that culture is going to look like so that you're not starting over every single year. Then you work your way through talent acquisition in your recruiting processes, both through the high school ranks and now in this evolving era of the transfer portal. And you work methodically to improve your program and get better on a daily basis. But, I know there hadn't been a lot of postseason success since the Final Four run back in 2006, but it's been done here. It's been done here 4 times to the Final Four, Elite Eight, Sweet 16s. I think it's a place with the tradition, the history, that you can build something special here. And it's not going to happen overnight. I wish it would. But it doesn't happen overnight, especially the circumstances coming in. So you got to stay the course, got to keep working. It's the only way it's going to get done.
And look, that's a fact. It's just it's going to take some time here. This sport lends itself to a quick turnaround. But inherently, LSU basketball doesn't lend itself to quite as quick a turnaround as you can see with football and especially baseball. You're working from, you've got kind of a low, the ceiling is the ceiling. You can win a national championship at LSU in any sport you want to. Maybe not hockey, but you can win a sport at LSU in any sport. But it's never been done in men's basketball. It's been done multiple times in football and baseball. So your ceiling, you can raise up there a little more quickly, and your floor is not quite as low. It just doesn't quite bottom out. In baseball, it didn't bottom out. Even Smoke, who missed the NCAA tournament his last year, and Maneri's first team had some guys on it. Lewis Coleman was on that team. Blake Dean was on that team that Smoke had recruited as a freshman. There were some guys that were on that team. Jared Mitchell was brought in. So he inherited a basketball program with nothing. Nothing. At a place that hasn't won a ton. You can look at Bob Pettit and Shaq and Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf and the 2006 Final Four, and there certainly have been, there's more highs than Ole Miss, I'll give you that. But this was not going to be a quick fix, and Matt McMahon knows that, and it's going to take some time. And the group that he brought in here is just really limited. And that's why, for me, when they beat Arkansas and played Kentucky close, I didn't turn around and go, yeah, they could get to 11, 12 wins. They could be a tournament team. I just said, no, I think they're still going to be competitive most nights, and they still feel like a 7 or 8 win team. That's kind of where I thought, because I see the limitations, and they certainly have those. But it's tough to look at Brian Kelly and go, bam, won the West, year one. You look at Jay Johnson, his first year. Oh, they got a chance to win a regional. And then all of a sudden, now you fast forward to here, and they're number one everywhere. Everybody's got them number one. LSU basketball doesn't work like that. And especially it doesn't work like that when you've got the NCAA still looming over your head. So it's tough to think long-term when you're middle of a season. It's certainly tough to think long-term when you're down 40 points in the Coleman. But that's the reality. So in the short term, what can get better? Well, Matt McMahon was asked that, and obviously anyone can look at the game or the stat page and go, they got to play a little bit better offensively. How do they do that?
I don't know. I think you got to try to play to your strengths. I think for us, we've been a more efficient team when we do get catch and shoot rhythm threes on the perimeter. We've quite frankly here of late have really struggled from 2-point range. I would like to have more balance of inside out where you can play through KJ. Now obviously you're starting to see teams double him in the post. And we've got to do a good job of attacking against that and let that lead to some easier shots for us. And bottom line though, we got to create some easier scoring opportunities. I mean, we're having a hard time just getting the easy ones. Whether that's like Tyrell Ward had the steal the other day that led to a breakaway layup. some offensive rebound putbacks. We need to find some ways to get some easier baskets. There's no doubt about that.
And I want to be very, very clear. I just played that sound. I did a poor job of leading into that sound. I said, what do they need to do about that? And the first thing out of Matt McMahon's mouth was, I don't know. The way the question was phrased is, do y'all shoot too many threes? So don't take his answer with my lead-in and think that he was asked, hey, Coach, how do you score more? And he goes, I don't know. That's not what happened. I did a bad job there. But the question was, do they shoot too many threes? And he said, look, we're not any good from two. They're not. They were 3 of 20 at one point from 2-point range against Alabama. They've got guards that don't finish very well around the rim, and they've got some guys that aren't shooting very high percentage shots. And they aren't a terrible three-point shooting team. KJ Williams has been sniffing 50% from three for a lot of the year. Adam Miller can make you 5 threes in a game if you give him 11 shots. Cam Hayes at times has knocked down some threes. So I don't need Trey Hannibal shooting them. Juice Hill hasn't done a great job of knocking down a lot of threes. But some of the threes they get are the highest percentage shots. And certainly when you're talking about an efficiency standpoint, which we understand you have to make fewer threes to score more points, that's just in. But in terms of an efficiency standpoint, they're more efficient from three than they are from two. And that is not to say that they're some elite three-point shooting team. They're just bad from two, which is a tough way to make a living. If you're going to be a bad two-point shooting team, you need to get fouled a ton and you need to make a bunch of threes. And you probably need to play some pretty good defense too. But that's kind of, Alabama is more efficient from three in the free throw line, and that's why they shoot a ton of shots from there. But he understands what they're getting into. He understands they're limited. And now, as he was just talking about, you can't just toss it down to KJ and let him go to work, because now you've kind of proven that you've usually got 2 or 3 guys out there that aren't huge offensive threats that we're going to double off of, and we're comfortable getting back into rotation off the double team because we don't think the guy that catches the pass is going to immediately hurt us. But I do agree with McMahon that they do need to continue to shoot some threes. I mean, he gave some numbers on the show last night. At one point, they were 5 of 10 from 3 and 3 of 20 from 2. Well, if you were shooting 50% from 3 and 12% from 2, where would you like to shoot from? I mean, it's just simple math, I guess, in that situation. But they've got to do a better job of trying to create some looks around the basket, try to get in transition, maybe take a few more chances on defense to try to get steals. Any way you can find to get some easier baskets, I think, would be very wise for LSU. Now, the bad news from last night was some news about Imwani Wilkinson. We'll talk to Glenn West in the second hour about it, but Matt McMahon talked about his junior forward.
Yeah, Imwani remains out, and I'm going to take a moment just to speak about him. He is an unbelievable young man, a warrior. When no one wanted to be here in the spring with all the turmoil and everything going on, he stepped forward to be a guy who loves LSU and wants to be here. Had an unbelievable summer, unbelievable fall. Unfortunately, in the preseason, suffered a shoulder injury. And just the warrior he is, he's tried to battle through it. He's fought, and it's just gotten to a point where he can no longer do it. So he's had surgery to have that repaired, and we'll look forward to him making a full recovery this spring. But I just can't say enough great things about him. Just his love for LSU, what kind of teammate he is, how he worked this summer and fall. I'm just heartbroken for him because he was playing at a high level when he had the injury back in the preseason, and just speaks to his toughness. He did everything in his power to battle through it. Just going to have to go ahead and have that procedure done and get him back 100% moving forward.
That stinks. I mean, I thought in my head that Matt McMahon just thought some other guys gave him a better shot than Imwani did. But then you start to think about it, and you're like, man, if they're going to be a team that relies on shooting some threes and spreading the floor and maybe taking a lot more threes than you thought, that's a guy I'd like to have standing there in the corner that you got to pay attention to, because he'll knock down those corner threes for sure. He's pretty good rebounder from the wing, which is something LSU has really needed. So when you start to think about those types of things, yeah, they'd like to have him out there. He just wasn't healthy enough to go. And so obviously you're going to have him have some shoulder injury. He did not say last night he's out for the year. There were some reports on Twitter he's out for the year. I don't know. Shoulder surgery midway through the SEC schedule Doesn't to me sound like a guy who's going to be back real quick, but I don't know. So maybe Matt Mann will further update when he meets with the media coming up in about 10 seconds from right now at 1:30. But we'll see. I'll keep you updated on that, and then we'll talk to Glenn West 1 hour from right now at 2:30. We'll take a timeout. Come back with Sharif Ishak talking Saints and Pels on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $7,500 off new 2022 Ram 1500s. New 2022 Ram 1500 trucks on our lot now with $7,500 off MSRP. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before.
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on a Tuesday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. That's where we'll find Sharif Ishak, WDSU. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I'm great, man. Getting ready to go cover the top two teams in the American Athletic Conference. The number one team is here uptown tonight.
I was going to bring that up, but we'll just do it now. I mean, people kind of got into Tulane football late. Is there a little buzz around the basketball team?
Yeah, man. So much buzz that the game is actually sold out.
Hey.
And they won 5 straight games. They're 5-1 in the American. Best start since they joined the conference. So, yeah, I mean, Ron Hunter's, finally turned it around in his 4th season and looking good, man. And Jalen Forbes, back-to-back weeks of being the Conference Player of the Week. He's a tremendous player, really athletic. And he can get to the glass and he can get to the rim. So it'd be a fun game. Marcus Sasser, watching him, will be entertaining tonight.
How's our old buddy Jalen Cook doing for Tulane?
He's all right. Yeah, 21 the other day, I think, in the win over UCF. He's done well. He's done well for this team since he's been here.
Interesting. All right, so put your Saints cap on here. What do you think as far as Saints fans? Who are they pulling for in a Bucs-Cowboys playoff game?
Probably the Cowboys. I think they were sick of the Bucs, man. I think everyone was just sick of the whole Tom Brady thing, the Bucs and their, newly found fan base, and how they thought they were going to win another championship at some point in time with this ragged team. And it was just saw how bad they looked. How bad was that?
It was ugly.
It could have been the Saints. It could have been the Saints too. I'll be honest with you. It could have been the beatdown. Could have been just as bad for the Saints because that defense that they went against last night is just something else, especially with Micah Parsons. But yeah, I think they were rooting for the Cowboys to win. Mike McCarthy wasn't getting fired, regardless. I don't think he was getting fired if he would have lost that game.
Anything that you took of note from the Dennis Allen, Mickey Loomis season-ending press conferences?
For the first time in a while, Mickey Loomis actually said stuff that, that has some meaning behind it. The blow-up isn't coming. Everyone wants the blow-up. That isn't going to happen. He's like, if you blow up something, you never know you can come back from it. I mean, it's hard to come back from a blow-up, and they don't think they're at that point yet. I kind of see a little bit of a reset coming, but not like the full-blown blow-up. But, yeah, he said that they're not there yet. And, of course, he talked a ton about Sean Payton. He's going to do what's best for the Saints, but, he has to understand that Sean has to agree to it too. And those were the two real biggest things that I kind of took out from that. I mean, because those were the things that really mattered the most. The Dennis Allen thing didn't even last long. Yeah, he's coming back next year. That's it.
I mean, I can't recall a situation quite as public and candid as Sean Payton's situation right now. He's going on Colin Cowherd's show, kind of laying out all the teams he's talking to. I've got the Texans literally tweeting last night, yeah, we just interviewed Sean Payton. He's talking about the compensation that the Saints would receive back for him. It's very transparent. You spent a ton of time around Sean Payton. What do you make of this entire situation?
He wants to coach, and he wants to coach now. I mean, he's not hiding. He's not making it a secret. And, to be honest with you, people are like, I can't believe he said mid to late first-round pick. And honestly, that's creating, a lot of buzz, which is going to create a lot of leverage for the Saints. You want a bidding war. You want him to say stuff like that. You want people to think, oh, mid to late first-round pick, we have a better than that. We can offer that for Sean, this for Sean. I mean, people who are getting mad about that should not. That's just going to create leverage for the Saints and Mickey Loomis. And everyone's like, well, how do you trust Mickey? Look what he gave up for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I was like, this isn't C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Let that go. This is going to be for a head coach who's going to be a Hall of Famer, who's innovative on offense, and is going to flip around a franchise. And you're going to get a lot of good compensation for him. So I like it. I don't mind it. I mean, he wants to coach. He just didn't want to be here anymore. For everyone who keeps saying, why not come back to the Saints? He said he needed a change. He didn't want to be here anymore. That's it. It's over. Stop asking why he's not coming back.
Good run. Just is what it is. But to me, this is my point yesterday. I just think, look, it's the Saints need Sean Payton to go coach. They need the assets that would come with that because it's a franchise right now that's low on assets. They don't have available salary cap dollars in free agency. They don't have the draft capital you would like. They need assets. That's one. So they need what's coming back.
Yeah, he can't sit out another year. If he sits out another year, it goes down a little bit.
Yep.
People are like, why don't you just wait for the Chargers job to come up? Because Brandon Staley's going to mess up again next year. We don't know that. You really don't know that. You are pushing Sean to get a job this offseason.
Yeah, for sure.
And you need to have a first-round pick this season, not just next season. If you can get 2 of them, great. but you need it to be this season.
I totally agree with that. Pell's got Darius Garlanded yesterday. He would have been a pretty solid player for Vanderbilt a few years ago, but now he's a pretty solid player, and they just didn't quite have an answer for him late.
You know, this is one of those times where you would need Brandon Ingram on the court, and and I'm sure we're about to talk about that.
Yep.
And they're doing as much as they can. You know, the fight and all that is great, but that's not going to really result in a lot of wins if you're not healthy. It's great that they're scrappy, honestly. I mean, they do fight for Willie Green. We have said this in the last year and a half, Hunt. I mean, at some point in time, Brandon Ingram has to come back because they are missing a guy who's, scoring 25 points a game. They need his shooting. They need his creation. I mean, point blank. A guy like him in a game like yesterday, they probably will win. They probably will win more games in this 25-game stretch that he's missed. They need him back desperately.
What's the deal?
He was cleared a couple weeks ago. I don't understand why, he has not, the intention was for him to come back during his 5-game road trip. That was made clear, that he'd be back for this 5-game road trip. And now you're hearing he can't get a full practice in, he's not feeling the 100%. And Christian Clark wrote a great article, and people seem to even be mad at Christian Clark for writing the article. I mean, the training staff said he was, ready to practice, and that was 2 weeks ago. And some of the fan base, it's frustrated, but there's some of the fan base let's make sure he's 100%. You're never going to be 100% in any sport, especially in an 82-game season. Just at some point, you just got to come back and you got to play and you got to roll. You got to get out there, and this team needs you. And the good thing is that they're still in third in the Western Conference. The Western Conference just keeps losing games. But at some point in time, you have to start stacking wins, and you need that team to be healthy. Zion, it looks like he just wants to be on the court now. The guy wants to play while he's hurt. But I understand being cautious with a hamstring. But it's been 25 games for a toe contusion that was listed as day-to-day.
I mean, does it surprise you? You've been around BI for a couple of years now.
7 different injuries and missed 55 games since last season. A little surprising. I mean, that's a lot of small injuries that has cost him such a long, extended period of time, off the court. And I'm a little shocked because he's a good dude. I mean, he really is a good dude. He's loyal to the team. The players love him. The coaching staff loves him. And, he says he always wants to be great. He wants to be the leader of the team, and he wants to lead them to a championship. And I don't question his heart. I just don't understand what is going on with the toe. Is there more to it behind the toe than we were told? I feel like we were told the truth. I think there's a toe contusion, but then you're hearing between the lines that maybe there's something else going on. I don't know what it is. Why he's not back on the court. He's warming up almost every game. He looks healthy to me.
I asked David Grubb this last week, and you get different answers when you talk about what the Pelicans may do here at a trade deadline situation. We know they have a ton of draft assets. We know they have a very, very deep roster. Do you think there's a move coming to add to this team? And if so, what are they looking for?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you stocked up all these draft picks from Milwaukee and L.A. You got to make a move. This isn't a let me sit on these draft picks situation and keep drafting younger players. I mean, you do have some nice young pieces as it is, but it's time to go get a Bojan Bogdanovic, OG Anunoby, somebody. Gary Trent. You're seeing all 3 of these names. Even seeing Pascal Siakam. You get any 3 of those names, Siakam, Anunoby, or even Bogdanovic, you're in good shape. That's what this team needs. They need another shooter, man. They truly need somebody who can get buckets for them and create. So you get one of those 3, they're in good shape this year and for a few more years.
Got a home game tomorrow. Miami coming to town. Give me a thumbnail on that.
I think the Pelicans are going to come out mad, after this road trip. They were away for 10 days. It's usually a team they don't match up with really well. Because Bam usually gives them trouble and Jimmy usually gives them trouble. So I think the Pelicans will be fine. I think they'll win. I'm just interested to see what we hear from Brandon Ingram or, in terms of the injury report, if we see him doing even more work before the game because they didn't have a practice today. But I think they'll be fine, and then they got to go to Orlando and Miami after that, and then they come back home for some games. So got to go 2-1 in this stretch. It'd be great to go 3-0, honestly.
Enjoy some Uptown hoops tonight, Sharif. Thanks.
Yep. We'll see what happens. Thanks, man.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, all things New Orleans, from our New Orleans correspondent down there. Curious about Jalen Cook down there at Tulane. they're pretty good, and he was really good for them last year. Hadn't kept up with it quite as good this year, but good player from right here in Baton Rouge. Take a timeout, come back with the end of hour number 1. What are some realistic options for old Tom Brady next year? I'll kind of give you my thoughts on that to close out hour number 1 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The NFL playoffs are heating up, and with FanDuel, every play is a rush. New customers join today, so you can bet the divisional round with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code 1045ESPN. America's #1 sportsbook has all your favorite bets, from money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, with FanDuel, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use, so football fans don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code 1045ESPN. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. First of all, minimum wage only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued, knowledge free bets. Expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. Terms for sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think
on Wednesday's OTB. Turn the page and start to look ahead to next week of the NFL playoffs. Plus, brand new Would You Rather Wednesday, and maybe Matt Flynn stops by for an hour of flustering. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So I opened the show today, obviously talking Bucs and Cowboys and what we saw last night. And the attention immediately goes to, okay, what's next for Tom Brady? And there are many people who suggest that press conference last night, the way he left it, thanking the people for covering the Bucs and thanking the organization, saying it was great and all that, is a farewell. And it may be, but he certainly didn't say that explicitly. And we know this guy is wired to play football. I mean, what did the last 8 months told us? Forced to retire? I don't think so. I'm back. I'm going to take Wednesdays off during training camp. Okay, I'm gone for a couple of weeks because Giselle said, okay, now we're divorced, but I'm still playing football. He just wants to play. And I don't know how hot that's going to burn in 8 months, but I have my guess. And if you listen to the opening of the show, I feel very convicted in saying, like, Father Time is winning this battle right now. And his skill set still functions in an offense because he can win it with his mind and his arm's still strong enough. He can't move, even though he's never been very, very agile. Good in the pocket, but can't really extend any plays. He's basically a sitting duck. So you're going to have an offense and really a team perfectly tailored to him. There are 8 or 10 quarterbacks I can toss into just about any offense that'll make it work. Brady's not that. If your offensive line is not great, need not apply. If you cannot run the football, need not apply. If you cannot win off the line of scrimmage out wide consistently, need not apply. He needs it all. So what makes sense? Certainly not Tampa. That's just not going to do it. Not as things are currently constructed. There are 2 teams that I think make a little bit of sense. The Raiders ran the ball as well as anybody in football this year. Jacobs is a beast. The line is solid. We know what Brady can do with really good slot receivers like Renfro. Devontae Adams is a true number 1. And Waller's great as well. Those pieces make some sense if they can make that work. So I think Vegas is the best option. Another one that I haven't seen a ton of mention because they've got a couple of fairly well-known quarterbacks on their roster is Miami. If you want to have a couple of wide receivers that can take his quick passing game and make ridiculous plays out of it, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle would fit that bill. They can take a short passing game and turn it into an explosive offense. The Dolphins ran the ball pretty well this year, and their offensive line is pretty good. Now, Tua may argue with me, but I think some of those are just a little bit more bad luck than anything. But if I'm the Dolphins, I'm looking at this roster going, I got a pretty good team here. I got a great secondary. Pass rush has been really good the last couple of years. And I've got these skill position guys that are phenomenal. And Tua, when he's healthy, we're pretty good. But can I trust that? The answer is probably no. Now, if I'm Miami, my actual sights are set on Aaron Rodgers. That's who I would prefer. But if we want to talk to Tom Brady, we may be able to. To me, those are the only 2 really realistic options that fit the criteria that, in my opinion, is 100% necessary for Tom Brady to have success. He's not going to get quicker or more elusive or have a stronger arm in September than he does now. So if you want to hand the football off, run it as well as anybody in the league, throw the short passing game, let him manage things, he can maybe do that in Vegas and in Miami. Now, those 2 teams have some pretty good young quarterbacks in their divisions. You got the easiest division in football this year, and you won it, but barely. In my opinion, if Tom Brady's a starting quarterback in the NFL next year, that team will not be a playoff team for me. But I think those are the 2 most realistic options. And I think anybody that is considering Tom Brady needs to seriously shake the tires on Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo first. Just kind of where I am on that. We'll put it up. Citizens Bank poll question of the day. What's Aaron Rodgers doing next football season? Bucks, Raiders, Dolphins, retired. We'll throw those in there. I don't think San Francisco's moving on to him. I don't think Green Bay's pulling some kind of swap. Anything can happen, but I think there are only a couple situations which really work on any level with Tom Brady. So we'll see what you say at the end of the show in the Citizens Bank poll question of the day. Fun first hour. Open things up talking Cowboys and Bucks. Then we had some sound from Matt McMahon on his coach's show last night. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, talking Tulane basketball, Pels, Saints, all that. Then my thoughts on Tom Brady. If you missed any of it on demand, catch it 1045ESPN.com's on-demand page, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you catch your audio, or in YouTube's case, your video. You can find our stuff. Fast-moving second hour coming at you. We'll open with some SEC basketball thoughts. New on-3 top 100 for this college football signing class. We're LSU signees in Glen West at 2:30. Come back after Sports Center. It's 1045 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford has $4,000 off MSRP plus $1,000 Ford credit cash on new 22 Ford F-150 XLT trucks. That's $5,000 off plus 0% financing. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ETEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. What does the future hold for quarterback Tom Brady? He has no timetable for a decision on what's next. After the Buccaneers' NFC wildcard loss to the Cowboys, Brady said he's taking it day by day. The 45-year-old can still be the difference for a team contending for a championship with the right circumstances, believes Canty and Carlin co-host Chris Canty.
Put him in a situation where the supporting cast could accentuate what he does well or carry him to the point where he can be a difference maker. In particular, this aspect of the game, situational football, third downs, 2-minute, red zone. That's the kind of thing that Tom Brady needs to be set up for in order to have success now.
Our Chris Canty on Greeny. 3 days after the Chargers' colossal playoff collapse in Jacksonville, the team fired offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi and quarterbacks coach Shane Day. Changes had been anticipated after Saturday's game, one in which LA had just 320 yards and 3 TDs, even though the defense forced 5 turnovers. For now, it appears that head coach Brandon Staley's job is safe.
The new Venture X card from Capital One. Earn 10x miles on hotels and rental cars and 5x miles on flights when you book through Capital One Travel, plus 2x miles on all other purchases. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Everyone in the Bayou Ford chat is very excited right now. You think it's because I have something super interesting to say? Maybe not. You think it's because they think that they can take my college basketball picks that are upcoming, pick against them, and rake in cash? That is why they're excited. We'll see. It's been a wise financial strategy to this point. And we'll just see tonight 4 SEC basketball games of note. We'll get to some of those here coming up. On 3 Sports, our friends from the Bengal Tigers, Shea Dixon, Billy Embody, Matthew Bruni, those guys over there, part of the On 3 network. On 3 released its final rankings for this signing class on the football field. I'll get you some thoughts on where LSU's players come in and where I think they may help the Tigers. Glenn West is going to be with us at 2:30. Matt McMahon and some players meeting with the local media over at the PMAC. Started at 1:30. Hopefully Glenn is out at 2:30 and kind of get us caught up on the Fighting Tiger Hoop Squad. But let's talk some SEC basketball right now. 4 games tonight, as we mentioned. First one, Ole Miss is at South Carolina. And when I saw this line, I had to double take, honestly. Ole Miss is a 5.5-point favorite on the road at South Carolina. In fact, I'm sitting here on live radio right now, and I have that written down in my notebook, and I just want to make sure that is in fact right. All right, we're pulling it up right now. Yeah, Ole Miss is a 5.5-point favorite. I couldn't even believe it, and I'd written it down in my notebook an hour and a half ago. I don't know how Ole Miss is favored over 5.5 over anybody right now. The Rebs are 8-9 on the year. They're 0-5 in league play. And I know that South Carolina is not very good. And I know that the public may overreact to a win in Rupp by South Carolina when we even said that South Carolina is the worst team in the league. But 5.5? I mean, that seems a little bit much. Ole Miss is so limited on offense. They lean heavily on their guards. Matthew Morrell is a nice player, but he averages 15 points per game and shoots 28% from the free throw line. It's not a very efficient go. South Carolina is terrible. I think they're a really bad basketball team. And I know that they lost by 40. So 5.5 doesn't seem huge, but this is Ole Miss we're talking about. I'm sorry. I got to take the home dog. 5.5. So, by E4 chat, mark it as fact. Hunt has taken South Carolina in the 5.5 points against the Rebels tonight. Tennessee and Mississippi State will play at the Hump in Starkville. State catching 6 points on its home floor. They've already played this game. It was in Knoxville. Tennessee won that game 87-53. And I'll be quite frank, the 87 points is far more significant to me in that matchup than the 53. I know Tennessee defends like crazy, and I know Mississippi State can't score. But I didn't know Tennessee was going to go for 87 on them a couple weeks ago. And you look at Tennessee in that game, they had 28 assists in that game. They haven't done that all year. That's not going to happen again, but I don't think that Mississippi State's going to bust 60 points in this game. I think they're going to stay in the 50s. Therefore, I think Tennessee will cover. I will take the road favorite in this game. Lot of home dogs in college basketball tonight. I was doing our little shift change before our show. Hannegriff's leaving. I'm coming in. He's like, look, we got live dogs all over the place. Home dogs everywhere in college basketball tonight. I would not be on Mississippi State. I'd be on Tennessee in that one. Bama is headed to Nashville to play Vanderbilt. Just going back to these two teams' games on Saturday, Vandy dropped 87 on Arkansas. 87 points. And you know that Bama scored 106 on LSU. So, could be some offense in Nashville. The line's 8. Vanderbilt's at home. I'm not there. Now, that can be a tough place to shoot. Memorial Gym's weird. Bama's going to shoot a lot of threes. Maybe. Tuesday game. Could it be a little bit sleepy? You wouldn't figure so with a top 5 team coming in. But I can't sit here with a good conscience and pick Vanderbilt to cover against Alabama after what I just watched on Saturday. And Vanderbilt may be better than LSU, but goodness gracious. Give me the Tide to cover the 8. They're covering 8 on everybody. I expect that to continue. I don't think Vandy can do the same thing against Bama's defense that it did against Arkansas's defense. That's an Arkansas team that is in a bad way right now, quite frankly. And the last one. Georgia at Kentucky. It's a a prove-it game for Kentucky to me because, yeah, we saw what you did in Knoxville over the weekend. That was great. Awesome. You should feel a little bit better about yourself now. Now you come home in Lexington, and you got Georgia coming in a little under the radar here. Dogs are 3-1 in the league. They got a couple of good guards. Terry Roberts and Kario Okendo are good players. But what can they do in Rupp? And I saw this, and I'm like, wait a second. Yeah. They're playing at 9 o'clock Kentucky time. Is that necessary? A 9 o'clock tip-off? These Kentucky season ticket holders are a little old. Maybe need to hand out some warm milk to them at that time of night. 9 o'clock tip for the Blue Hairs up in the Bluegrass. But I still think the environment will be decent. Mike White's Georgia team has outperformed my expectations for them to this point. And I do think they'll cover the number in this game. I don't trust Kentucky defensively enough at this point to lay 11 points. So I will take the road team catching some points in this game. So for those of you feverishly writing or typing, trying to fade my picks, I'll give them to you one more time. South Carolina catching 5.5 against Ole Miss. Tennessee laying 6 against Mississippi State. Bama laying 8 at Vandy. And Georgia catching 11 at Rupp Arena up in Lexington. That is my thoughts on the games tonight. Not exactly an incredible slate. I guess the best game is probably Georgia-Kentucky, although Tennessee-Mississippi State could be pretty high level on the defensive end. They just may have some serious trouble scoring. So that's my thoughts on the SEC basketball slate this evening. Going to remind you for the next couple of days about a big event we've got coming up on Thursday. Join former LSU Tigers Aaron and Austin Nola for the 2023 Strikeout ALS bowling event. Nola brothers teaming up once again to help raise critical funds and awareness for the fight against ALS. The 2023 Strikeout ALS will be held at Red Stick Social coming up this Thursday. That's January the 19th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. You can get tickets at als.org ALS/Strikeout ALS. Again, the website, ALS.org/Strikeout ALS. Very much looking forward to getting out there, knocking down some pins with some of my Guarantee friends and fam, and raising some money for a great cause. Aaron and Austin do an awesome job coming back here and putting that on in the month of January before they've got to head out to spring training for another year on the senior circuit for those two guys, as they've been such great ambassadors for LSU, great Major League Baseball players, and do great work like that event coming up on Thursday. Very much looking forward to that. Glenn West is going to join us here coming up at 2:30. Going to talk some LSU basketball headlines with Glenn. When we come back, LSU signees, where do they stack up in the 2023 On3 final rankings? I'll get you caught up on that next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
We know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility. Moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, ATEL, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Miller Lite has more taste and only one more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. How do the LSU Tigers project in the upcoming NFL draft? And John Brady will join us to talk a little LSU hoops. Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Glenn West going to be with us here in 15 minutes. We're going to talk some football recruiting here. Is on 3. Yeah, with its final rankings for this incoming signing class. It is the class of 2023, even though most of them signed in 2022, December of 2022. LSU's class right now ranked 6th by On 3, behind Ohio State, who's 5th, Miami, who is 4th, Texas, who is 3rd, Georgia, who is 2nd, and Alabama, who is 1st. Tide signed 7 5-stars and 24 stars in their class. LSU with 1 5-star and 18 4-stars, 6 3-stars to boot. But wanted to let you know where some of the LSU signees finished in the class. So Lance Hurd comes in at number 26 overall. Big offensive tackle from Neville, and we all think he's going to have a tremendous career here in Baton Rouge, is the most highly thought of prospect in this class. Deshaun Womack, number 39, so a pair of top 40 players for LSU in this class. We know that Deshaun Womack is on campus, dealing with a little bit of an injury, arm in a sling, had a little bit of an operation, but should be okay here moving forward. Shelton Sampson, just outside the top 50 to be a big-time wide receiver out of Catholic High, number 52 in the country. Javian Toviano is number 55 in the country. Of course, LSU expects him to come in as an early enrollee, learn the nickel, safety, corner spots, and very likely fill one of those roles. The versatility, I think, is one of the things that's really stands out about Toviano. It's very, very Jay Ward-esque in where you can move him around to. I think he's not maybe the fastest player, which is important, but there are some other things you got to consider. But I think very versatile, and Toviano comes in at number 55. And then Jalen Brown, speedy wide receiver from down in Miami, comes in at number 79. Can't wait to get a look at him in purple and gold. Speed is fun, and he's got plenty of speed. Last one in this group is Kamorian Pimpton, who made a huge jump. And if you've been paying attention to Shea Dixon, whether on our station, whether you're on 3 on Twitter, Shea has made a lot of comments about Pimpton and just how special he could be here in Baton Rouge. Moves inside the top 100, number 4 tight end in the country. He's got a wingspan that's an hour and a half long, and he can run a little bit. And pass catchers tend to be pretty ready to play at this day and age. And, well, I don't know if I'm ready to have Pimpton line up on the edge and block Auburn or A&M's best pass rusher. I am ready for him to catch balls on third down and in the red zone. I think they're going to let him do that pretty early. Mason Taylor's a heck of a player. They've got certainly plans for him. They like Mac Markway coming in as well. You got Jackson McGowan, but this is a guy that his skill set's a little bit different because of that catch radius, which is a buzz term, and the speed that he's got as well. It's just a good frame. So this guy Shea predicted this. He said, look, I've seen this guy's tape. He was incredible at the All-American game. Vanderbilt thinks they've got a steal here. But if LSU can get him, I think he can help early and often. And he said that. Pimpton showed out. He ended up committing and signing to LSU. And now he moves up a ton of spots in this ranking up to 88. So you're talking about 6 Tigers in the top 88 of this class. So Lance Hurd at 26, Deshaun Womack at 39, Sheldon Sampson at 52, Javian Toviano at 55, and Jalen Brown at 79, with Pimpton coming in at number 88. So a really solid class that is pretty big at 25 players at this point, and could grow in the coming weeks as we get to the next signing day and that second signing period. LSU, in my opinion, you just go out there and get almost anybody that'll come, because your numbers are going to work themselves out with guys who transfer out. I'm less concerned now with a guy coming in and holding a spot for 3 years and not being able to help you. I think those guys that aren't going to be able to help you will end up moving on and understanding it organically. Some you can use the term process, which is a big word, and cut and told to leave, and however you want to phrase it. But I'm less concerned now with taking guys that don't hurt. It was a famous saying that I believe Jerry DiNardo told some media guys around here. He said, look, it's not the guys that you miss that hurt you the worst. It's the guys that you take that can't help that hurt you the worst. That was true in 1998. I don't think it is in 2023 because those guys are going to move on and you just go sign the next crop. Plus, you can plug and play out of the transfer portal as well. So bring in as much talent as you possibly can. I'm all for that, and LSU can certainly add to this class here in the coming weeks. Speaking of guys moving on, we understand now that Walker Howard has decided he's going to move on, and there's just been a ton of buzz today about Walker Howard. Garland Gillen from down in New Orleans has tweeted out that Ole Miss has now become the favorite to land Walker Howard. I was listening to Neil McCready from RevelGrove.com, got a podcast, McCready and Siskey, and they talk a lot of football in there. And they were talking about Ole Miss today, and these are guys that are in Oxford. Neil covers Ole Miss. Siskey's in the coaching world and has spent some time in college football staffs. And this is purely them talking about Ole Miss. This is not any of my inside sources or anything that I'm hearing. This is from the Ole Miss side of things. They expect that there's a very good chance that Walker Howard would end up in Oxford. We all know that he visited this weekend. They also are mentioning the name Spencer Sanders a ton. And this is just Neil and Siskey talking, but they were like, look, we're under the impression that Walker Howard left LSU because he didn't want to be the third-team quarterback, not getting second-team reps, and maybe running the scout team. And that checks out with what we've been talking about here. That makes sense. Well, if Spencer Sanders, who's a 43rd-year senior, goes to Ole Miss, and Jackson Dart is there, all of a sudden Walker Howard isn't going to be the second number 2 quarterback. He's maybe taking scout team reps. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it? Unless Spencer Sanders goes in and Walker Howard comes in as the 2 and Jackson Dart looks elsewhere. Now, this is fully speculation by guys that cover Ole Miss. That's the situation that we're in. But the smoke is coming from different places. We know that Walker went to Oxford this weekend. We know that Garland Gillen, with a New Orleans TV station, has said that Ole Miss is the favorite and there's going to be an announcement today. Then we know that Ole Miss and the people that cover them for Rebel Grove, who are very close to that program, are talking about it as well. When there's fire coming, so when there's smoke coming from that many places, there's probably some fire. And Lane is constantly working that transfer portal. Lane creates a very attractive destination for quarterbacks to go to. And I don't think he's going to lose any sleep if somebody comes in or out or somebody loses their starting job. He's going to accumulate the talent. He's going to put the best team he can on the field. Whether that's Jackson Dart, whether that's Spencer Sanders, whether that's Walker Howard. The internet is ablaze with all of that. And you're starting to get text messages and whatnot as well. So, look, it would surprise me a touch if Walker Howard did not go to Ole Miss. It would surprise me a touch if we didn't hear that today. It's just when you've got it from New Orleans and you've got it from Oxford and there's stuff swirling around Baton Rouge, you kind of get the picture. And this is probably something I'll expound on when Walker does make his pick. But the bottom line is that this has basically come down to timing. The timing did not work for Walker Howard and LSU. And you could suggest that, yes, it would if you just benched the other 2 quarterbacks and played Walker Howard, the timing would work. And I would be correct. And you would be correct if you said, yeah, they could just sit Jaden Daniels and sit Garrett Nussmeier and play Walker Howard, and that would fix the problem. If you want to term this a problem. I just don't necessarily see it that way. I think the coaching staff that has seen these guys play prioritized the guys that they wanted to take the snaps in practice. And because Garrett Nussmeier is 1 year older than Walker and Jaden Daniels has another year of eligibility because of COVID-19, the timing doesn't work. And that's a bummer when you talk about a 5-star hometown QB whose dad played here, but just the facts. And I think you would get that from the Howard camp as well. I don't know that because I don't know anyone in the Howard camp. I've never spoken to anyone in the Howard camp. But it just sometimes timing is everything. And in this case, there's just too many guys in one spot. May create some shakeup over there in Oxford as well. We'll just have to see. That's just what the guys at Rebel Grove are speculating about. All right, we will take a quick timeout. Glenn West of Go 247 with us each and every Tuesday on the show, usually at 1:30. He texted me and said, hey, we're talking about your man at 1:30. Can I come on later? I said, sure. How about 2:30? Said, sure. So I texted Sharif and I said, you need to move up to 1:30. He said, sure. And there's your Tuesday show. Instead of Glenn at 1:30 and Sharif at 2:30, we flipped them, had Sharif on at 1:30 earlier, and we'll have Glenn West on here coming up from Go 247. We'll talk a little football and then a lot of Fighting Tiger basketball. What is the psyche of this team after going on the road and getting blasted by 40 points? Oh, by the way, there's a couple of ranked teams coming into the PMAC this week. We'll get Glenn's thoughts on all of that coming up next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, and in doing so, they are elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. All January long, we are telling you about Hunters for the Hungry. There are over 900,000 resident hunters and anglers in the state, and they contribute to the sportsman's industry, which supports about 24,000 jobs with an economic impact over $1.6 billion. We understand just how important hunting and fishing is to the economy here in the state, but it also can help out those in need. You know that one deer can provide 240 meals, and that's what Hunters for the Hungry helps to do. Those hunters that go out and harvest what they kill, they can come back and put some food on people's plates, and Hunters for the Hungry facilitates that with some great functions. They partner with all 5 food banks in the state throughout our great state. That's what makes them a champion of Louisiana. If you know a champion of Louisiana like Hunters for the Hungry that's doing great work in our great state, that should be recognized for their great work, we want to tell their story. LWCC.com/champions. LWCC.com/champions. And nominate a person, a nonprofit, an entity to be a champion of Louisiana like Hunters for the Hungry. Hunters for the Hungry, January's Champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Time doesn't stop, and the world keeps spinning. Community, culture, and communications, the powerful circle that connects us together. We're creating the next evolution, a network built for every possibility, moving faster than ever before, streaming us forward into the future. And the revolution is closer than you think. RTC, E-Tel, and Vision are now Rev. New name, same company.
Start your day with news and newsmakers. Start your day with traffic, weather, and local stories that are important to you. Kickstart your day every day. Mornings with Brian Haldane from 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on Talk 107.3.
I've got that blue sky.
Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson. That's Game Time, presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's head on out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Joining us an hour later this week, but still on Tuesday, Glenn West of Go 247. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
Doing very well. Your thoughts on you just spoke with Matt McMahon, spoke with some players. Their demeanor after getting beat by 40 over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we only got a chance to speak with Coach McMahon today. I think that's kind of expected after a big loss like that. But he kind of relayed to us that, look, the team is in very high spirits. They've come back and they've really had a nice rejuvenated sense of just urgency in terms of a lot of the areas that they kind of have deficiencies in, and they've been putting in a lot of work. He said that they actually probably had one of their hardest run practices on Monday that they've had really all season. And it's, typically when you get into this time of year, you're, kind of also wanting to manage the body a little bit from a long season. But he said they went after it yesterday. It was extremely competitive. They thought they got a lot of good work in, and they're going to have another similar kind of practice today before obviously tomorrow's big game against Auburn.
What was worse on Saturday, the offense or the defense?
Oh, I don't know, man. You're asking me to split hairs there. I would look. I just always come back to the 2-point offense. I mean, I think they went 5 of 21 on layups at the rim, and they just can never seem to get really good shot attempts. I mean, their looks are always contested, and it's just been really, really hard for them on offense. And look, I think defensively, the biggest question mark coming into SEC play was how would they stack up in the rebounding department. We obviously have seen that there's got to be some significant improvement on that end. I think Alabama rebounded almost 50% of their misses in that game, and it's just something that's not going to lead to success when you got teams that are so good at shooting the ball like Bama. Giving them those second chance opportunities is just a big, big no-no, and so they've got to really get back to the drawing board, I think, in a lot of different areas. Coach McMahon said, defensive rebounding and offensive execution were the two biggest ones that they've really focused on the last couple of days.
In terms of the offense, realistically, what can their identity become over the next 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's got to start, on the perimeter. I mean, I just don't see them being a big enough physical team to be able to pound it in the paint. Hannibal is a really good attacker of the rim. But honestly, I would say he's probably their best at getting to the rim and getting off good shot attempts. I mean, even KJ is really struggling right now in the post to get good, clean looks. Derek Fountain's struggling in that department. So I think you've got to start on the outside and hope that some of these shot makers like Cam Hayes and Adam Miller and KJ can really, start to strike fire on the perimeter, and maybe that opens some stuff up on the inside. But I think it's really got to start on the perimeter for LSU. They've just not been very good at really being a team that can pound it in the paint and get good looks from 2-point range.
Would you suggest shooting more threes then?
I think so. I mean, look, you can't shoot it much worse than they did against Florida a couple of games ago, and they still, they weren't necessarily in that game, but they weren't being blown out by 40 at the same time. They were at least getting some shots to fall there in that second half in particular, and I think you've just got to draw it up as we're going to be a team that shoots and hope that they can make some shots early and really open the half court up, because it's just been a real big struggle for them to create good looks at the rim.
When I hear shoulder surgery in the middle of January, I just assume that Imwani Wilkinson is out for the year. He didn't say that last night. Did he confirm that today, that he won't play again this year?
Yes, so he's going to be out for the year. I asked him about that follow-up today. He actually injured that shooting shoulder in preseason and just wanted to play through it, see if he could do it. And so I think you saw kind of, 3 or 4 games in, his shot selection or his shot attempts went way down. I think the shoulder thing was just really bothering him, and so he sat a couple games, maybe hoping it would, get a little bit better, but they just decided to pull the trigger on surgery, but he's going to be out for the year.
Is Tyrell Ward going to see some more minutes because of that?
I would imagine so. Look, I thought Tyrell played, had some really good moments in the home game against Florida. I thought he made a couple threes there and looked a little bit more comfortable. Nobody really looked good in that Alabama game, so I'm not going to judge him off that game. But, I think he's absolutely a guy that could see an increase in minutes. He's very long, and he's one of the longer wings they have on this team. If you're asking for a guy to go in and try to get some rebounds, I think he's a quality candidate to really help the bigs on the boards if they can get him to, focus on that end of the floor. So, I absolutely see Tyrell Ward being at least a fixture in the rotation for the foreseeable future.
I've asked you this exact question before, I know, but I'm gonna phrase it again, just to see if your answer has changed at all. What would you do with the minutes at? We can call it point guard, we can call it primary ball handler, whatever. What would you do with those minutes?
Yeah, well, it sounds like Cam Hayes is going to be back in the starting lineup tomorrow, so that helps you a little bit. But they've struggled to, I guess, find a true point guard, if that's the word you want to use for it. But I think what you really need out of that spot more than anything is just a guy that can calm the offense down in the half court and get guys open looks. And they've really struggled to find that. Cam Hayes is much more of a, one-on-one kind of scorer. He can really take guys off the dribble and create good looks for himself. But we haven't really seen that translate to getting good looks for other players. I would say you really need Justice Hill to start coming along. He struggled mightily in SEC play. I think he's averaging less than 3 points a game and I think less than 2 assists a game as well. So he's, you got to get him on track. I think Trey Hannibal, if you can get the turnovers down on him, he's another guy that could take some of those point guard minutes. But I think really those are kind of the 3 guys that you're looking at for the rest of the year in terms of that spot.
What do you make of Auburn coming in here?
Well, I mean, they're not the offensive Auburn that we've known for the last couple of years. It's been a little bit more of a struggle for them offensively, just to get consistency. They got a pretty young core. I think they just really, I think they've been kind of skating through these SEC games and had some good moments, had some bad moments. The thing about the SEC right now is all these teams that are kind of at the top are kind of beating on each other right now, and so there's, kind of a core group there of Alabama and then everybody else. And I think kind of Auburn is in that next tier right now with the, Tennessees of the world and the Arkansas of the world when they kind of get right. So, they're a good team. Bruce Pearl is obviously a really good coach, and he comes in with a lot of success against LSU in recent years. So it's going to be a tough battle for LSU for sure.
Let's talk quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels back. Garrett Nussmeier has not entered the transfer portal at this point. Walker Howard has. What do you make of those developments, and how surprised are you with any of them?
I got to say, I was a little surprised with the Walker Howard news, just from the standpoint that, 10 days prior we had heard from Coach Kelly himself that, things were trending towards all 3 being back, for the spring at least. I think now that Walker's made that decision, if I'm Coach Kelly and that staff, which I'm sure they're doing, I'm making it known to Garrett Nussmeier that he's the future of this team, that he absolutely is going to be a key fixture of this foundation moving forward. And, you've got to lay that into him, because there's still another transfer portal window there after the spring where interested teams could really come after him in the months after, in the weeks after the spring session ends. So, making it known to him that he's going to have some quality snaps, some quality good looks next season, and obviously for years to come. I think has got to be the biggest message that you're sending out there to those quarterbacks.
Every day it seems like there's another poll or list that's got like 30 LSU baseball players on it or saying they're the number one team in the country. Have you ever seen anything quite like this?
No, I think, just from following the D1 baseball stuff, 16 players between the freshman, sophomore, and junior classes have been kind of notarized in the top 100 or so players in the country for their class. I mean, this is going to be a really fun year. I think LSU baseball is, there's very few seasons that you can go back and look at, them being the prohibitive favorite. I think if they don't make it to Omaha this year, it'd be a massive disappointment. But, I think, look, they've got a great group. I was walking back from the PMAC last week after the Florida game at 9 o'clock, and I heard, pinging going on over at Alex Cox, and there was a number of cars out there getting some extra hitting sessions in. So this does seem to be a group that understands, that they have a good group, but they're also willing to put the work in this offseason.
It is going to be a fun ride. Appreciate you for coming on a little bit later. Glenn, have a great week.
Yeah, absolutely. See you next week.
Glenn West, Go 247. Love chatting with him on Tuesdays here on the Hunt Palmer Show. One of the things we were talking about there with Glenn is how they create some offense. And Matt McMahon was talking about what they can do to get some easier looks. And he's talking about offensive rebounds, maybe a little bit of transition. And the way to get easy looks is to create rotation on the defense and get guys out of position. You can do that a number of ways. You can do it off the dribble. That's pretty easy. You beat somebody off the dribble, and now somebody's got to help, and you got them in rotation. LSU has Juice Hill, who does not finish around the rim very well, so that hasn't been very effective. You got Trey Hannibal, who is not a threat to shoot a three-pointer, so teams back off. It makes it more difficult on him there. You've had Cam Hayes hurt, and nobody else really does a ton of driving. Justice Williams doesn't do a lot of driving. It's just not a backcourt that does a ton of driving. You're not great there. You can do it with ball screens, which they do. They did a really good job against Arkansas in the ball screen game. Really great job against Kentucky with ball screens, and you can get guys in rotation that way, but it hasn't always been successful. You can get them in rotation if you throw it down and create a double team. All of a sudden, they're automatically in rotation because somebody is not guarding their man. They've got that with KJ Williams, but they're not creating any offense out of it. You've got to either knock down the three or have somebody catch that diagonal pass and put it on the floor and attack. So there are some ways that you can do it. LSU just hasn't proven itself to be very effective at any of them. So we'll just have to see. But I'm not, with this team, to a certain point, I don't want them to do what Alabama did on Saturday. But I'm not going to be opposed to this team shooting more threes, because I think you've got some guys that can make them with KJ and Miller and Hayes, Tyrell Ward. You've got some guys that can make threes. I don't necessarily need Fountain shooting a ton of them. I don't know that I desperately need Trey Hannibal shooting any. But to try to stretch that defense out and get them extended, I wouldn't mind shooting some more threes. So we'll see. They got an uphill battle trying to score, and that starts again tomorrow night with Auburn at 6 o'clock. Incidentally, if any students are listening back in school today for the first time, I believe first 100 students get a McManiacs shirt. I saw Matt McMahon was posing with a table full of them a little bit earlier. Let's see, LSU basketball on Instagram. But I think, it's free shirts for the first some number of students if you want to go in there and check that out. Yeah, here we go. First 1,000 students. So, hey, you got a real chance. Line up, get in the PMAC for a 6 o'clock tip. You can get a free shirt. McManiacs is what they're going with the student section. Not terrible. We'll come back and close it out next.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Love telling you about One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com. Was chatting with David Duvall last week and said, look, we are getting a ton of response on the website. We appreciate y'all for checking out what they can do. They've got all of these pictures, before and after shots. They've got testimonials over at OneBathAndClosets.com. Again, I tell you this a couple times a week. It's not a great time to move. You certainly can, but it's not a great time to move. So you can improve your current living situation with a new bathroom, with a brand new closet. How much better would that make your living situation? Whether it's a full bathroom renovation or just a tub to shower conversion, take that tub out, put in a gorgeous walk-in shower, glass front shower. They can do it in One Bath and Closets. And if they tell you, if you tell them that we sent you over to OneBathAndClosets.com, they're not going to charge you for the labor on your closet renovation, not for the pulling out of your existing unit or the installation of the new unit. No labor costs for you there with One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think
on Wednesday's OTB. Turn the page and start to look ahead to next week of the NFL playoffs. Plus, brand new Would You Rather Wednesday, and maybe Matt Flynn stops by for an hour of flustering. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Get you a full scouting report of the Auburn Tigers tomorrow on the show. Auburn and LSU, 6 o'clock tip-off in the PMAC. We'll see. I mean, it's a home game, and Auburn's not the Final Four SEC championship type team they have been. They're better than LSU, but LSU just got to play a good ball game. I think they can hang with Auburn tomorrow. We'll get you the nuts and bolts on Bruce Pearl's Tigers tomorrow. But for tomorrow, we got to finish out today's show, and to do that, we'll play some Take It or Leave It.
Yeah, let's do it. Kamza Soren won the RXF Slap Championship in Las Vegas after going a full 10 rounds. Hunt, you will enter the World Slap Championship next year. Take it or leave it.
I couldn't possibly leave this any more quickly. For those who don't know what the Slap Championship is, two huge dudes stand on what looks like an arm wrestling table, and they grab a handlebar on one side and just take a full slap at the side of their face. And if you look at this guy, He's got a title belt on, and one side of his face is perfectly normal, and the other side is just swollen like 37 bees just stung him. And somehow these people get into the slap game, and you become the world champion. I would be knocked out in 2 seconds and couldn't really inflict any harm anyway. So I don't think my odds are very good in the slap championship. Therefore, I choose not to enter next year's slap championship.
Peyton Manning said last night on the Manning Cast that halftime adjustments are the biggest myth in pro sports. You go to the bathroom, you eat a couple oranges, and the coach says, let's go. Eli also agreed. So halftime adjustments are a myth. Take it or leave it.
As of yesterday, I would have thought they were real, but I got to take it as a myth. If Eli and Payton, who played a combined 30 years in the NFL, are telling me that that's not what's going on in there. Said you're in there for like 4 minutes, and you just, whatever. You're making adjustments on the field real time. The coaches have the whiteboard out with the offensive line sometimes. You got the quarterbacks with their Surface going through pictures. They're doing that real time on the phone and whatnot. I guess at halftime, guys are hitting the head and grabbing some oranges, and then you just come on back. So I thought that at halftime we were going to go through some real deep discussions for those 8 or 12 minutes. Doesn't appear that's the case. I never knew that, but I'm going to take their word for it.
A UConn women's basketball beat writer, Daniel Connolly, tweeted his displeasure with LSU jumping the Huskies in the latest AP poll. LSU comes in at number 3 and UConn sitting at number 5. LSU ahead of UConn. Take it or leave it.
I mean, I'll take it. Who cares? That's the point. It's the middle of January. It's not like this is some runoff program that needs some clout in the polls. This is UConn. They couldn't fit their titles in a U-Haul. What does this beat writer care if LSU jumped them? LSU's 18-0, whatever. We'll find out in a couple of weeks when they play South Carolina how for real they are. Feels kind of real because they're beating everybody by 20, but I think only one of them was ranked at the time. I don't know, but this doesn't feel like a worthwhile Twitter beef to be getting into Daniel Connolly. So just enjoy your time in Storrs, Connecticut, and we'll probably settle it on the hardwood.
Arch Manning lost his spot atop the On3 Top 100. Tennessee signee Nico, let me try this.
Yep.
Amaliva. I like it that way, so I'm going to say it that way. Is the new number 1. Take it or leave it.
I don't know exactly how to say it. I do know that with names that are of that descent, you usually pronounce all the vowels.
Well, I'm going to go Amaliva. So.
I'm going to go with Ayamalaeva. I don't think either one of us is right at all, but Amaliva sounds funny. Either way, Nico I, the new quarterback up in Knoxville, sure, he can be the number 1 guy. I think that Arch is going to be a fine player. I think it's very difficult to evaluate someone when they carry that last name with them. And then you couple it with the fact that Newman never really plays at the highest level in the state. You never know, but I think he's probably going to be a pretty good player over there in Texas. If you follow on Twitter, it appears he's lost 2 student IDs. People keep picking him up and taking pictures of him. Whatever. Grab your ID, Arch. You're going to need that.
Kansas at Kansas State and Texas at Iowa State highlight a huge night in the Big 12. The Big 12 is the top hoops conference in the country. Take it or leave it, Mr. Hunt Palmer.
I will take it. I think you add in, Baylor is always really, really good. TCU's got a good team this year. So, yeah, I like Porter Moser at Oklahoma. I don't know that they're the top of the conference right now, but they're good. And then you obviously have – those are 4 top 15 teams that are playing tonight. So, yeah, I think the Big 12 is really, really good. There are some good teams in the Big 10. There are a couple of good teams in the SEC. UCLA is playing really well. So, there's Gonzaga, we always know. But as far as a conference goes, I'm going to have a hard time picking over anybody over the Big 12 to this point. So, big time matchups in the Big 12. The SEC doesn't have quite the headline-grabbing matchups tonight. But those 2 games are going to be very, very good. In any event, we're going to be watching all that at Pluckers tonight for sports trivia. So if you're looking for something to do this evening, looking for somewhere to go, Pluckers is your spot. We'll do sports trivia starting at 8:30 tonight. We always have great basketball on, and we play live action trivia for about an hour and 15 minutes. We'll have you out of there by 10 o'clock. Grab a team. Come on out to Pluckers on Nicholson at 8:30, and we'll be having some delicious drinks, great food, and your chance to win Pluckers gift cards. It is always a fun time out there at Pluckers. We'll be there at 8:30 tonight for sports trivia. That'll do it for us today on the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed it, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, all those places you can find our stuff on demand. Like it if you like, subscribe, rate, and review as well. Open up talking Cowboys and Bucks as the boys probably finished off Tom Brady's career in Tampa. That was the top of the show. Matt McMahon sound from his coach's show last night at 1:15. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, joined us to talk some Pels and some Saints at 1:30. And then I gave some options for where Tom Brady may land at the end of hour one. Hour number two, we opened with SEC Hoops thoughts, LSU recruiting at 2:15, talking about the new top 100 rankings. Kamorian Pimpton, the biggest mover of the Tiger signees, inside the top 100 at number 88. And then Glenn West of Go247, always good enough with his time on a Tuesday. He just left his sit-down with Matt McMahon. We talked LSU basketball and a little bit of football as well at 2:30. So catch all that stuff on demand. We will certainly appreciate that. Again, tomorrow's show, very much looking forward to it. Get you a full breakdown of LSU and Auburn on the hardwood. And I guess we'll start looking towards the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Why not? Seems like about that time. All right, Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming at you from 6 to 8 this evening. Matt Moscona going to drive you home on After Further Review. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Always 1 to 3 every weekday on the capital city's leader in sports talk. It's the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.